I'm John Bristol with FCP Services, like they said. It's hard to follow Finn when he tells you, okay, now for the regular stuff. You know, so my presentation is about painting. It's not about having to watch paint dry, just so you know, okay? All right, so I'm here to help you not be an unpopular board member. What does that mean? I can't make you a popular board member, but if we do our walk around and we stay ahead of our maintenance so that we don't have major stuff, then to repair, then you don't have special assessments looming, and the special assessments make you a very unpopular board member. So let's see what we can do to help you with that. So our topics today are taking a look at different things you can see when you're going on a walk around. And I see a few of you have, but most of you haven't. I just want to point out that it's nice and sunny, and the ground is pretty firm right now, so it's a good time to get out there. So I'd highly suggest you consider scheduling it and getting ready to go. So we're going to talk about peeling, flaking, bubbling, cracks, color fading, all the kinds of things that you might find on this walk around. We're going to show you some examples. I do want to tell you a little bit about us. FCP Services, we've been in business since 1990, and Perry back there, who is hiding in the back and doesn't want to be up here, he's actually been here pretty much since the beginning, and if you can't drive around town without seeing an apartment building, a HOA, or other multifamily organization that he hasn't been in and probably hasn't painted the interior or the exterior. There's a ton of them everywhere you look. So he's been around, so he's got all kinds of institutional knowledge for us, and so if you have a really technical question, I'm just going to defer to him. So he's on point back there. So we are in the business generally of just painting. We also do maintenance and repairs in the metro area for multifamily. We also have a national practice that works with retailers and works with hospitality organizations, painting and doing construction work and doing facility maintenance. So we have a large, mature organization that's ready to help you, and we are excited to be a sponsor of this organization and an arm of the organization to help you as you get ready for your projects. So we're going to take a look at examples. I'm going to talk you through each one of these, and then there's the quiz. All right? So we're just going to put up some pictures, and you're going to have to tell me what the problem is. All right? So you don't have to take notes, but don't be thinking about your taxes. So the first example here is peeling paint. I'm sure you all know what peeling paint is. How many of you had to scrape it when you were a kid? Yeah, all right. Everybody knows what that is. But where do we find it at your HOA? Where should you be looking when you're walking around? One of the places that we find it all the time is garage door frames. And a lot of times that's from snow removal efforts. It also can be from our favorite friends, the rabbits and the squirrels and others that seem to like to chew on our buildings. Anybody seen that before? Yeah. All right. And then we have entry door frames, same thing. Entry posts, anything close to the ground, the trim, siding. This is where we should be looking for this. And the ledges. And sometimes it might be exposure to the sun. Might do this. It may also be moisture, which is, water is our enemy. We hate water coming into our building, right? So we've got to be very fastidious about looking for places where water can come in, because it's one thing to fix it on the surface, it's another thing if it gets inside, right? So we've got to be watching for that. All right, any questions about peeling paint? We've all scraped it, so we're good to go. I don't know how well you can see it with the lighting in here, but this is an example of fading paint color, right? Anybody have this at their HOA? Yes, you do? Anybody else? Okay, so is it on the sunny side of the building? Yeah, because the sun can really beat on a finish, and depending on what kind of paint was put on there, it could lend itself more easily to that. It may also be that it was poorly prepared, poorly primed. There could be all kinds of reasons why this might be happening. But when you see this, you've got to take a look at, how do we get a better coating on there? Because since a lot of these older associations have been painted that have these kinds of issues, there are better coatings out there now. to reflect the sun, and using flat paint helps and low luster. But the key is, when you've got this going on, it's not the worst problem in the world because you can paint and repair it. So this one's not so bad. Cracks in the caulking, right? You got deck boards here coming up to a window. Why is that a big deal, right? Our unfriend, the water, is the first reason, right? Once you got a hole in the caulking, then water can get in. You can also get bugs coming in. Nobody likes bugs, right? Insects that are either nuisances or can actually chew on wood. You want to make sure that your caulking is straightened out and ready to go. So around the windows and doors and the corners of home siding, and sometimes there will be some caulk on the foundations. So when we help you, we can point that out to you, because one of the things we do is we volunteer to come out and help you with your walk around. So if you're unsure about this one, this is something that we can help you with. Or just kicking the podium here that I don't have, there is a test question on this one, so see if you can find it in the coming pictures. Wood rot. Who's got wood rot at their association? Yeah, a lot of hands, right? Yeah, that's bad, right? And it could be insects, it could be water intrusion. This is where you're starting to become less of a popular board member, you see? Because if you could have caught it early when the paint was first starting to fail, the wood wouldn't be rotting, right? But as it gets worse and worse over time, and the water keeps getting on the exposed wood or the exposed siding, that's where you get more and more chances to have to replace it, right? So we want to make sure we fix this. We don't want mold, we don't want mildew, we don't want it to rot. And unlike me, when my dad told me to fix stuff and I just threw a coat of paint on the outside of it to make it look good, it doesn't work. You have to have a good solid surface underneath, so we have to repair that. We have to cut that out if necessary, or replace the board, right? And you poke your finger on some of this stuff and it'll just collapse, right? So you've got to make sure that you stay ahead of this, and this is why going on walkarounds is really important, because if you see your paint peeling early, you can fix it before you get to wood rot. Okay? Decks. How many of you have responsibility for your HOA's decks? A few. And the rest of you, is it your homeowner's responsibility? Yep. Okay. So since everybody's different, we take a holistic approach to it and say that you should be looking at it. And for this homeowner, they've really let it go, right? They've got wood rot, they've got peeling stain, they've got all kinds of issues here, right? And you don't want if somebody's living above somebody else and the deck is rotting. We gotta work on these things, right? And we've got other vendors here that will build decks. We repair decks, but the key is we got to make sure we can pressure wash it. Should we strip it? We recommend more of a stain that is more neutral, that can just soak into the wood, as opposed to putting color on it like this, so that it peels and chips and cracks when you move the furniture around and when the sun beats it. We can help you make good choices there to help it last longer, but the key is to take a look at it and determine what is your cycle, and it's going to be a little different. If it's in the sun all the time, it's going to need more help sooner than if it's on the shady side, right? So you don't necessarily have to have all of it on the same cycle, but you do need to make sure that you're watching it and, like I said, going around and cataloging these things. And if a group like us comes out and we're going to paint your HOA, if your homeowners want to get together and have this all done, and we can bill you and you bill them, we can take care of it all at once so that we keep it all up, right? So there's lots of different ways to address this to keep everything good. And for this, we're looking at, when you do the exterior, that's the rails, but as a separate deck project, could be as little as 3 or as many as 7 years between treatments. And then the floors, 2 to 4 years. This is steel siding, and the steel siding, the factory coating has failed. All right? Who has steel siding in their association? 1, hopefully 1, going on 0, 2, 3. Okay, so we could paint it, but you're going to end up with that again. You know, if you start to see this and you have steel siding, it's probably been there for a long time, this would be the time you should be making sure that you're getting ready to replace your siding with something that's more maintenance-free. How about this? Anyone? There's some water damage. There's some sun exposure. There's some peeling paint. Betting there's some rot there, although, you know, I can't get too close to it. It's kind of a all of the above, right? This is the all of the above. And if you see this, we're going to need to get out there and help you fix it. What do you see here? Maybe a little wood rot, certainly peeling, cracking. This is kind of the problem that we talked about earlier. You know, when you look at the damage that you see around your garage doors and stuff, it's usually about this high. It has a lot to do with how much snow was sitting up against the doors, or, you know, the overzealous, nothing against the snow removal guys, but, you know, bumping the side as they're shoveling it out, or running around with a plow, right? I mean, it happens. It's not like you can, you know, police that completely, but it's just that's an area to look to keep that up. And if you start to see rot there, eventually you're going to have to replace the frame. So let's stay ahead of that. Who was it that wanted to compel everyone to keep their deck up? I think it was you, yeah. So here's your deck to talk about right here, right? It's not fair for you guys in the back, but there's peeling, cracking, and stuff here that needs to be updated, that's all. Fresh coat of whatever, and we'd recommend, again, trying to stain it with a neutral, clear stain as opposed to putting color on there that's going to chip and peel off. How about this one? Anyone? We've got some fading going on. We also have chalking going on, where the paint has literally gotten so old that the particulate is starting to wash down the side and stain the building a little bit. And then it looks to me like we've got maybe some problems there with some sealants as well. Down here. Have to take a closer look, especially for you in the back. All right? So, in conclusion, be not unpopular, right? Let's get out there. Let's go on a walkabout. We're available to help you. It doesn't obligate you to use us as your painting vendor. We want to earn your business, but we will go with you and we will help you point out these things. It's a service we do for the HOA Association. So we will come out there. We're doing 2 of them today, where we're just going to go out there, we're going to walk around and help point stuff out to them. They're going to take pictures so that they have it for their residents. And then we're going to give them a bid that they can look at their reserve fund and say, where are we at on being able to afford this project? How long away are we, right? And if it needs to be done now, can we afford it now, right? Some things we may have to spot fix for them. Other associations are ready for getting the work done this year. So it just kind of depends on where you're on your cycle. But we recommend that you do this walkabout every year, and then you take a good look and you make sure that as the market changes for the cost of paint, the cost of labor, the cost of materials, that as you're looking at your reserve study, are those costs rising faster than you're accruing? If you aren't accruing enough, then it's time to maybe change the dues a little bit, as opposed to later saying, okay, well, I'm sorry, everybody's got to come up with $1,500 because we gotta fix this. Because that's when you become an unpopular board member. Okay? Watch for all these different early signs of problem areas. Take the photos, and we will be there if you want us.